Hello Horus Heresy fans, welcome to Heresy, the Horus Heresy talk show. In this episode, I'm going to tell you what the options are for building your Contemptor Dreadnought from the new Horus Heresy Age of Darkness box set, and we're also going to talk about the different weapons available and how you might use each one of them on the battlefield. So, as a quick note, we're not going to do much talking about the things that aren't available in the new kits just yet. There'll be a future chat on Dreadnoughts once we've got all the different wider options available, but for today we're mostly going to focus on the more common options that we're getting in the new plastic kits. So, the Contemptor Dreadnought comes with a Gravis Autocannon, a Gravis Melta cannon, a Gravis Bolt cannon, Gravis Lascannon, and the Gravis Powerfist with different options for the built-in weapons. And a question I've seen quite a lot is people wondering which of these they should use when they build the Dreadnought. So, first of all, I am going to mention magnetizing. If you've never magnetized something before, Dreadnoughts are the perfect thing to magnetize in. So do certainly consider having a look at some tutorials on how to magnetize these units. That would be a really good start. But whether you're going to magnetize them or not, or whether you're just going to glue them together, let's talk about what they've got available. So, first of all, Contemptor Dreadnoughts are very good. They've got 6 wounds and toughness 7, and they don't suffer from all of the additional things that most anti-vehicle weapons get. So, like Sunder on a Lascannon doesn't work against them because they're not a vehicle. So, most of the time, you're going to have to hit and wound the Dreadnought and get through its save 6 times to kill it, which is like super tough because it's got a 2+ save and also a 5+ invulnerable save. Thanks to its Adamantic Deflector, it's also immune to instant death. So if you do get some enemy Terminators or something like that in combat with it that have got some instant death weapons or characters with instant death weapons, they just do D3 wounds instead of instant death in it when they hit it as well. So Dreadnoughts really are very tough. They're a great fire support platform. They're a great melee unit. They can be built to do both at the same time as well. So weapon options. So the default option they come with is the Gravis Bolt Cannon. Now the Gravis Bolt Cannon is 6 shots, Strength 5 AP4, twin linked. So that is very reliable because the Dreadnought's ballistic skill 5, so it's going to hit on 2s with a reroll, so they're probably all going to hit, but it's only strength 5 and AP4, so it's not very good at killing Marines. It's not really very good at killing anything in the game right now. It might be further down the line when we've got things with different profiles, but for now it's not very good at really shooting Space Marines or anything in a Space Marine army, unless you've got like a unit of scouts you just want to delete. So this isn't really a great option. So I probably would avoid building this on your kit, and I'd look at one of the other options instead. So we've also got the Gravis Autocannon, just talking about the sort of machine gun style weapons. So the Gravis Autocannon is 3 shots, twin linked, rend and 6, and it's strength 7 AP4. So you've got 3 shots, you're twin linked again, so they're probably all going to hit, and you've got rend and 6. So you've got roughly a 50% chance, give or take, of one of those hits being rending if all 3 of them hit. So most of the time, you're going to kill 1 Space Marine, put 1 wound on a Terminator, and then force them to take 2 saves as well. Also pretty good against light armor, so things like Rhinos, autocannons are particularly good at killing because they will still penetrate them quite a lot, but they've got multiple shots to blow them up more quickly as well, and people will be buying those new Rhino kits, so these are good at killing Rhinos. And this is only 10 points, so this is a viable option, putting the autocannons on them, although still, again, because they don't go through the saves of Space Marines or Terminators quite as easily, and because they don't have Sunder unlike some of the bigger autocannons, maybe not that fantastic an option, but they do look very cool. You know, if you're in the market for a gun with a big magazine on the Dreadnought, this is definitely something you could use. So this is more of a cool factor weapon for me right now, I think. Then we move on to the Melta cannon. So this is the first of the weapons I really like. So this gets 2 shots, ballistic skill 5, and it's twin link because it's basically 2 multi-melters glued together to all intents and purposes. So they're going to hit, and then they're strength 8, and they are AP1 as well. So your normal stuff, they are very good at killing vehicles as long as you can get into range, but they do have slightly longer range than like a melted gun, for example. So these are 24-inch range, so you can put 2 shots out that are gonna maybe penetrate vehicles at a long range, but at 12 you're going to do some serious damage to a vehicle, especially since you're AP1, you get those +2 bonus on the damage table rolls. But also, this is only 5 points, this upgrade. Melta weapon's quite cheap because of their shorter range. But, you know, if you think about Dreadnoughts are perfectly capable of walking up the field, they've got no issue doing that whatsoever because they're very tough. You can easily get yourself into Melta cannon range, so this is one of the great options. Also very good at killing Terminators because they instant death them and they go through their armor. So the Terminator just gets its invulnerable save. If it fails, it's dead, which is also great. So this is a really good option. Likewise, the Gravis Lascannon. So the Lascannon's a lot more expensive at 20 points, but again, you've got 2 shots. It's got Sunder and Strength 9, so it's really good at killing vehicles because, again, Ballistic Skill 5, you're probably going to hit with both of them most of the time. And it's also, likewise, much like the Multi-Melta, good at sniping out Terminators and that kind of stuff. They are going to get their vulnerable save, but you've got not really any way around that. But if you do go through, you go through their AP2 automatically. You are at least going to instant death them, which is great. So the Lascannon is also a really good option, and it's even better when we talk about some other bits in a sec. Then lastly, of the options in this kit and the main weapon options, we've got the Gravis Powerfist. Now, the Dreadnought's weapon skill 5, initiative 4, 3 attacks. The Gravis Powerfist is strength 9. It doesn't strike at initiative 1, unlike, you know, infantry-based big Powerfist weapons. And it's got AP2, and it's got Brutal 3. So whenever you hit anyone, that person's got to pass 3 successful saves to not get hit, and mostly instant death by your Power Fist. So again, if you're thinking about hitting things like Terminators, they are going to get their 5+ invulnerable save, but they've got to roll it 3 times and pass it, which has got a very low chance of success. So this is a really good weapon for just mulching things in combat, even if they're very tough. It's also very capable of penetrating vehicles as well, especially since you'll be hitting them in the back if you're in melee. Less good at things like Land Raiders or Spartans because they're 14, so you're still going to need a 5 to glance. But a very good weapon, nonetheless. Now, you can also build some guns into this, so it comes with a combi bolter, and you've got some upgrade choices, and they're all in the new plastic kit. So you can give it a heavy flamer, which is okay, but you probably don't want to be wasting the opportunity to have some of the other better guns. A Plasma Blaster for 10 points, which is basically an Assault 2 plasma gun. So that's got a good chance of killing a couple Marines again, all on a Ballistic Skill 5 model of these, so mostly going to hit with their attacks. So you can shoot out a couple of Marines, maybe kill a Terminator if they both wound. You've also got the Melta gun, which is much shorter range than the Gravis Melta cannon, but if you take them both on the same model, you've got an extra Melta shot once you're in range as well. And if you are, although they're half range bands for killing vehicles will be different. If you do get in 12 inches and you are shooting something like Terminators or Marines, that's 3 shots you've got that are going through their armor. But that's 15 points is quite an expensive upgrade as things go. But I actually think the Dreadnought at 175 points base is quite cheap, and so is the Gravis Melta cannon. So I think you can afford to give this its extra Melta shot to make it even more deadly, even though it's quite a pricey upgrade. And the last option is the Graviton gun. Now, I feel like I want to do a whole video on Graviton guns because there's so much cool stuff that they do. But basically, for the Dreadnought, if you fire Overwatch, you fire your Graviton gun, you're allowed to fire your blast markers. Anyone charging your Dreadnought is going to strike at initiative 1, which is great because we're going to hit them before they hit us. Because of the difficult terrain you've plonked down in front of them with the Graviton gun. They've also got a chance of losing 1 weapon skill, which if you're fighting elites will be very relevant because the Dreadnought's then gonna outstrip them. And also as well, if you are shooting at vehicles, it's a haywire shot, which means it's almost always going to glance, so it goes with them anti-vehicle weapons you might have on the Dreadnought as well, and that's also 15 points. So the Graviton gun's also a great, and I feel probably a little bit overlooked option as well. So all of those, bar the heavy flamer, I think are all options, depending on what we want our Dreadnought to do. Now, last of all, but not least, we've got extra options, and you can only take one of these 2. So first is the Havoc Launcher, which is Strength 5, AP5, Blast, twin-linked. It's not really a very good gun, and it's 10 points. I feels like this should have had pinning or something, like the Radio Dreadnought's missile launcher. It's just not really a very good gun. So it may be good if you start fighting lots of like Mechanicum Thralls or Solar Auxiliary or something in future where you want to throw blast things at people. This will go through their armor, and it's Strength 5. It'll kill a bunch of guys on a 2. But again, right now, when we're talking about Space Marines, not such a good weapon. But what is great in this category is the Helical target array. Now, I love this thing. I absolutely love it because it's got so many rules and it's only 10 points. So at the start of your turn, you can activate this if you want to, or if the other player's going first, you can activate it at the start of the game. And we just reflect on what a great piece of rules writing that is to, you know, mitigate the problem of someone going first and all of your abilities not being on yet. Absolutely brilliant. So this can always be an effect, basically, if you wanted to, whenever your opponent's doing stuff. So it does 3 things that we care about. 1, it gives you optional Skyfire. So if you are shooting at a flyer, you can shoot at your full BS, so hitting on 2s instead of 6s with snapshots, which is a nice thing to just have in your army, right? If your opponent brings a flyer or 2, not many people are going to bring more than that. At least you've got a unit that can shoot them, and they can't have like free reign on the battlefield, and you get an access to that for 10 points. Also, it ignores Shrouded if you've got this active, which is also good because there's plenty of things that can get, you know, I've got ways to get Shrouded. You've got the speeders with the Shrouded Jink equivalent nowadays, and you've got maybe just some guys who have got Shrouded who are hiding at the back of the battlefield you might want to snipe out. It's just another toolbox in this little 10-point toolbox. The last thing is, and this is the biggest part of it for me, it lets you make a free interceptor reaction. So deep striking a lot and deep strike equivalent things like outflank, you can make interceptor reactions against them, but normally you're going to make 1 because you've got your 1 movement phase reaction. This gives you another 1 because it's free. So your Dreadnought, particularly if it's got some good guns, is going to get free shots at something coming in, which is just fantastic. So all 3 of those things covering different things, you know, anti-shrouded, anti-flyer, anti-deep strike for 10 points is just really good. Now, when you activate it, it does stop the Dreadnought from moving for the turn. So there is that to factor in, but it's very, very good. So how do we put all these things together to make some good Dreadnoughts? Well, I think first thing to say is, although this video is targeted at just a new plastic kit, you are going to want to think about doubling up on some of these weapons. I've got 4 of these Dreadnought kits coming because I want to be able to have those weapon options available, and that's definitely something you should think about doing. So first Dreadnought build that I really like is what I call the Heavy Sniper Dreadnought. So 2 Gravis Lascannons, so 1 on each arm, and a Helical target array. So this is a 225 points. 225 points, yeah, I'm correct. 225 points. It gives you 4 Lascannon shots at ballistic skill 5. Very long range. It's got that Helical target array. Because the Lascannons are so long range, the not being able to move thing isn't really a problem. And this just gives you like a really good shooty platform, and it's quite hard to kill. And it can stay quite far back on the battlefield, so, you know, unless your opponent's deep striking, some of their guns might be out of range of it as well. And it's just a really good support Dreadnought. You are wasting its melee potential a little bit, but, you know, by doubling up on the Lascannons, you're really improving the Helical target array's potential. And this is the kind of Dreadnought, you know, like, from a flavor perspective, I think about this one as like hanging around with his battle brothers at the back of the battlefield, just blasting threats out of the sky, and things that are trying to come and kill his Space Marine brothers, he's making sure that nothing gets near to them. So this is one of the Dreadnoughts I'm going to build. Second type of Dreadnought I really like is what I call the sort of close range support Dreadnought. So this guy is going to have a Melta cannon, a Gravis Melta cannon in one arm. He's going to have the Powerfist with the Melta gun in the other arm as well. And now, as I said, that Melta gun's a bit expensive, but the whole model is so cheap, I think it's worth adding on. So this only comes in at 195 points, which I think is super cheap. So it's got them 24-inch, very reliable Melta shots. It's got another one at 12. It's good at, it's going to advance up the battlefield, possibly with some of your scoring troops. So with maybe with some breaches, I really like this, because the breaches are holding the line and very tanky. And this is meaning that, you know, if something wants to come in and fight the breaches, which they're not very good at doing damage, but they're hard to kill, this guy can then come in and do the damage. Or, you know, he can be hiding behind the breaches so they can take charges, and he can keep on shooting his Melta guns at important targets, and he's walking up the battlefield, getting into range of those Melta guns. And it's just a cool, I love Melta guns. You know, I'm also half Salamanders player as well. I just think Melta guns are really cool. So that's also good, and he's very, very powerful in combat. Obviously, he's only got 3 attacks, but every one of those attacks is weapon skill 5, and most things are going to get instant death on a 2 and have no chance of passing a save regardless of how good the save is. Even if they've got a 3+ invulnerable save, you are still very highly odds on to kill them because of the brutal 3, which is really good. So that's another option. If you've got 10 spare points in your army, there's also nothing wrong with giving that a helical targeting array as well, because it's so cheap. A lot of the time you're not going to use it, but on the off chance somebody, you are playing against a deep strike army, or you are playing against an army that's got some flyers and you just need more to shoot down. If you've got 2 dreadnoughts in your army, 1 Lascannon, 1 Melta gun 1, you could do worse than spending 10 spare points on a targeting array for that as well, potentially. So the third dreadnought that I like, in a similar vein, is just a double Melta cannon dreadnought. So this is sort of in between the other 2 dreadnoughts I just mentioned. Now, it's less good at the interceptor, helical targeting array style stuff because it's got a much shorter range. But, if someone's outflanking, you know roughly where they're coming on, for example. Or if your army is sort of like much more close together, you know where someone's going to deep strike. They're going to deep strike in range of you to do stuff to you. 24 inches can still be enough. And again, it's 4 very, very powerful shots. So this is a similar one again, but it's just super cheap for what it does. This comes out to 195 points with all those Gravis Autocannon shots and the target array. That's just really good. Another type of dreadnought I would consider is just the all close combat dreadnought. So right now we're just going to give this two power fists, dual power fists, and really you can give this whichever guns you want on those power fists. So it's very cheap. It's 175 points base unless you're going to upgrade any of these, and you could just not upgrade the guns on this, like, absolutely, because the dreadnought itself is so cheap. You could give it 2 heavy flamers, which in this case makes it 185. It's an all close combat dreadnought. Might just be worth having them for a few free throw-ins, but I'd probably give it plasma blasters. This guy is, with his fist, is going to be hunting down Terminators and maybe Marines. Probably he's going to get his extra attack to go up to 4. That's what he's going to be doing. So he might as well have the plasma blasters to put some extra shots into those same targets that he's going to be punching with his fists. You could also extend out to the Melta guns for the same reasons we've talked about already, or the Graviton guns if you want to make it a little bit more defensive, or just give him a couple of options for putting a couple of haywire shots into a vehicle. Really, all of those weapon options are viable, but the fact he's 175 points base is just super cheap. So I haven't mentioned the autocannon at all in those builds, really. I don't think it's that great an option, and as I said, I don't think the bolt cannon is right now either. But absolutely, that will change when you're not only fighting against Space Marines. So when we get some more rules, when we've got more things that have got 4+ saving throws, where those things go through the armor, like potentially some robots that are coming out, or like, some guys in different kinds of armor, those will be better options, so just bear that in mind. Now, I'm just going to mention quickly a few options just for people who might already have the other weapons sitting around, or who might be wanting to do a little bit of conversion. So just going to mention some things. So the Gravis Plasma Cannon is great at killing Marines. So that is certainly an option. It's better than Lascannons at killing Marines and better than multi-melters, just because it doesn't scatter very far, so you're probably going to get some more shots. But if they are Terminators, it's going to be a bit worse because it's not going to instant death them. But the Plasma Cannon is good, and again, it adds some variety to your army, so you're not just using multiple of the same dreadnoughts I've just described. And who doesn't like painting plasma weapons, right? So the plasma is good and is definitely a viable option. Also, as well, I really like the Chain Fist is another good option. So if you are going to do a melee dreadnought, there's not really any good reason to have 2 Power Fists beyond just saving a few points. But for 10 points, you can upgrade one to a Chain Fist. So you still get your +1 attack, but you get the option of being Armor Bane in a combat in which you need that. So if you're fighting against a Spartan, for example, all of your attacks are going to penetrate. You're hitting on 2s. All your attacks are going to penetrate with the Armor Bane. You're averaging a 17 on your dice. You're going to penetrate the Spartan 3 times, and you've got a good chance of doing some serious damage to it there. So if you are going to build a melee dreadnought, I would definitely recommend taking one of each of those as well. So there we have it. That's the end of the episode. I hope that is useful for everyone who's building their Contemptor Dreadnoughts in the next few days. As I say, do remember to magnetize. Do pick up some extra kits if you can for those doubling up weapon options as well. That would be really good. If you enjoyed the content, please do drop me a like and a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And if you would like to discuss anything that's happened in this episode, or anything at all really, please do drop me a comment. Now, it does turn out that good, sound-biteable Dreadnought quotes are actually reasonably hard to find, even though Dreadnought lore is awesome. So we're just going to go with a classic to close out this episode. Even in death, I still serve. Bye-bye.